Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. A group that has been together for more than a decade. 7 young men who have sacrificed their youth, their tears, and their sweat for a single dream. A group whose name makes stadiums tremble all over the world. A group that has made the world cry, laugh, and fall in love. BTS. But behind the smiles on stage, behind the blinding spotlights, there is something that has never truly been revealed openly. And now, Jimin is speaking. Welcome back to this channel. If you are new here, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because today we are going to talk about one of the most gripping stories in the history of modern K-pop. This is not just gossip. This is a real story about pressure, courage, sacrifice, and a love that survives even in the middle of the most violent storm. We need to step back for a moment to the year 2022. June 2022. BTS had just released their album Proof, a compilation that felt like a farewell. And it was, in every sense of the word. In a video that left every army around the world completely speechless, the members of BTS announced that they would be focusing on their individual solo projects before entering mandatory military service. Jimin was the first to enter the barracks in December 2022. Then came jhope, RM, V, and finally in December 2023, it was Jimin and Jungkook's turn. 7 people, one by one, gone. For ARMY, this felt like a very real loss. Not just losing their music, but losing the presence of 7 souls who had become part of millions of lives. But do you know what was the hardest part of all? It was not the military service itself. It was not the distance that separated them from the stage. The hardest part was everything that happened outside the barracks, at a time when they could do absolutely nothing about it. Summer 2025. The entire world was counting down the days to BTS's return from military service. But then, a viral video shook the K-pop community to its core. Song Dae-eun, a Korean actress and television personality, uploaded a TikTok video. In the video, she was recorded walking toward a lift in an apartment building. And then, the lift doors opened, and standing there was someone unmistakably familiar. Someone wearing a mask, a black cap, a gray long-sleeved shirt. Someone who then spoke with a surprised and warm tone. "Oh wow, you scared me. You knew I was coming? I came without telling you on purpose." That voice, the way he spoke, that signature expression, ARMY recognized him instantly. It was Jimin. The video spread at the speed of light. Within hours, Jimin's name was trending across every social media platform. Speculation exploded. Theories emerged from every corner of the internet. Were they dating? How long had this been going on? Why was it kept secret? And more importantly, why did Song Dae-eun upload that video? Was it deliberate? Was it an announcement? Or was it, perhaps, a provocation? This was not the first time their names had been linked together. Rumors about Jimin and Song Dae-eun had actually been circulating since 2022. Back then, fans began noticing various small clues scattered across social media. Song Dae-eun watched the exact same film Jimin had recommended to his fans. Comedian Jo Si-ho, known to be close to Dae-eun, was following only Jimin out of all 7 BTS members on Instagram. There were posts of an apartment that looked remarkably similar to the one shown in a BTS documentary. There was a video of a dog set in surroundings that closely matched what Jimin had once shown. Clue after clue kept piling up, but there was never any official confirmation, until that elevator video appeared. And Big Hit Music, an agency known for years to be extremely private about the personal lives of its artists, could no longer stay silent. On August 31st, 2025, Big Hit Music released an official statement. A rare statement, one that shocked many people, including fans who had been following BTS for years. They confirmed it. Jimin and Song Dae-eun had indeed been in a relationship. But that relationship had ended several years ago, and at present, the two of them were no longer connected in any romantic way. The K-pop world was rocked. For some fans, this was a moment of relief. Finally, there was clarity. Finally, it was no longer just speculation. For others, it was a painful blow. Not because they were opposed to Jimin dating, but because of how it all came to light. Not through a planned announcement, not through Jimin's own choice, but through a video posted by a woman who made the unilateral decision to expose a private moment of an idol to the entire world. And Jimin? He was in the middle of his military service. He could not speak. He could not defend himself. He could not explain anything. Imagine how heavy that must have felt. But the controversy surrounding Jimin was not the only storm to hit BTS as they prepared for their comeback. December 2025. All the members of BTS had been discharged from military service. They were preparing for the most anticipated comeback in K-pop history. The album was being recorded. A world tour was being planned. This should have been a time full of hope and excitement. But then, in the middle of a live stream that was supposed to be a moment of celebration, RM, the leader of BTS, the backbone of the group, said something that made every army around the world hold their breath. He admitted that as BTS's leader, he had considered tens of thousands of times whether it would be better to disband the group. Tens of thousands of times. Those words did not come from someone unfamiliar with pressure. This was a confession from a leader who had been carrying a weight for years that most of us could never imagine. Think about that for a moment. RM has been the leader of BTS since their debut in 2013, for more than 12 years. During that time, he was the one who most often spoke on behalf of the group. He was the one who faced cameras at international press conferences. He was the one who delivered a speech at the United Nations. And through all of that, there were thousands of moments when he thought to himself, maybe this is enough. Maybe it is time to stop. But BTS did not disband. Why? Because in those exact moments, the people around him, including Jimin, reminded him of why they started in the first place. Not for fame, not for money, but for music, for connection, for ARMY. RM's admission did trigger a massive debate within the fan community. Some appreciated his honesty. Some were worried. Some began questioning the future of BTS. But one thing was certain, this was the truth. And the truth mattered. June 11th, 2025. Yongkyon, South Korea. On a field near the military barracks, hundreds of fans had already gathered despite Hybe asking them not to come for safety reasons. But ARMY could not simply stay at home. And then, they appeared. Jimin and Jungkook, side by side, walking out through the military gates with smiles that could not be hidden. They gave a salute. They accepted bouquets of flowers. They waved to the fans who were crying tears of joy. And Jimin spoke. In a calm but deeply sincere voice, he said to every ARMY who had waited for him, "Thank you for being patient during my military service. I know it was not easy." Just those simple words. But for an ARMY who had been waiting for 18 months, those words felt like rain after a long, long drought. And beyond that, Jimin completed his military service with outstanding results. Among all the trainees in his unit, he ranked first as the top trainee. He received a commendation directly from the division commander. He was even promoted early to the rank of Special Class Warrior. This was not luck. This was Jimin. Someone who always gives 100%, even when no one is watching. Even when there are no cameras. Even when there are no fans. 1 month later, July 1st, 2025, all of BTS gathered for the first time in a long while in a Weverse live stream, watched by millions of ARMY from all around the world. And Jimin was the first one to speak. "We're back. We're finally all together again." Those words were met with applause and cheers from all 6 other members. But beneath that joy, there was something deeper, a sense of relief that could not be expressed with ordinary words. During that same live stream, Jimin shared something deeply personal, something small but incredibly meaningful. "It's such a blessing to hold my phone in the middle of the night. Being able to scroll through it while lying in bed again feels amazing. The little things we take for granted every day. The things Jimin had missed for 18 months inside the military barracks." And from those words, we can understand one thing. Jimin never forgot who he was. In the middle of all the pressure, all the controversy, all the news swirling around him that he had no control over, he remained the same Jimin. Grateful for the small things. Sincere. Human. After all those storms, after the controversy, after the bitter admissions, after the questions that hung in the air, BTS gave their answer not through words, but through music. Mid-2025, all 7 members of BTS relocated to Los Angeles and lived together in a single house for 2 full months. It was the first time the group had been in the same place since 2019. Think about that. 7 grown men, each of whom had tasted the full weight of life on their own, gathering again under one roof. Not as idols in the middle of a promotional cycle, but as friends, as brothers, as people who chose each other, again. RM described their routine as rigid and disciplined, 6 days a week, like businessmen. Mornings were for physical training. After lunch together at home, they would head to the studio and write and record with rotating teams of collaborators until the evening. It felt like being trainees again, RM said. Except this time they arrived carrying years of stadium tours and billions of streams behind them. And Jimin was there, in every session, pouring himself into the songs. On November 1st, 2025, during a live stream, Jimin made an announcement that brought tears of happiness to ARMY everywhere. Guys, we just finished recording. The album was done, and its name was Arirang, a name not chosen at random. Arirang is a centuries-old Korean folk song, a song that transcends time and generations. A song long associated with feelings of connection, distance, and reunion. There could not have been a more fitting name for BTS's comeback album after everything they had been through. March 20th, 2026. The Arirang album was released. The following day, BTS held a free concert at Gwangwon Square in Seoul, witnessed in person by hundreds of thousands of people and live-streamed globally on Netflix. And on April 9th, 2026, the Arirang World Tour began. 82 shows, 34 cities, 23 countries, 5 continents. This is the largest world tour ever mounted by a Korean artist in history. Every single ticket sold out within hours. So what exactly has Jimin revealed? Not in a single dramatic press conference. Not in one big statement that shocked everyone. But through the way he lived through all of this. When his good name was dragged into rumors he could not control, Jimin did not react with anger or defensiveness. His agency spoke on his behalf. And he remained still, completing his duty with dignity. When RM admitted that he had once considered disbanding BTS, Jimin did not deny it or create a scene. Because that truth existed. Because every group, every friendship, every relationship reaches a point where everything feels heavy. What makes the difference is the choice to keep going. And BTS chose to stay together. Jimin chose to come back. There is one thing Jimin said when he walked out of military service that often gets overlooked. He thanked ARMY, not out of obligation, not out of protocol, but because he genuinely felt it. For 18 months inside the military barracks, without access to social media, without being able to interact directly with his fans, Jimin knew that out there, millions of people were waiting for him. And that became one of the things that kept him strong. That is a real connection, one that cannot be severed by distance, time, or any controversy whatsoever. And that is the truth Jimin revealed, not through drama, but through consistency, not through anger, but through calm, not through grand declarations, but through actions that speak louder than any words ever could. BTS has weathered so many storms. The controversy of dating rumors, the painful admission about the possibility of disbanding, the pressure of military service, the impossible expectations of an entire world. And they are still here. With the album Arirang, a name that reflects a long journey, the distance that has been traveled, and the reunion that was long awaited. With the largest world tour in K-pop history. And with Jimin, who may never have spoken with sensational words, but who has always spoken in the most honest way possible, through his hard work, his dedication, and his love that has never dimmed, for music and for ARMY. Because in the end, that is the most important truth of all. Not gossip, not rumors, not drama, but 7 people who choose each other again and again in every storm. And that is more than enough. That's it for today's video. If you felt this content moved you or gave you something meaningful, please leave a like, share it with fellow ARMY, and write in the comments. What is the BTS moment you missed the most? See you in the next video. Purple You ARMY. Purple Heart.